The meeting. At exactly 1:16 p.m., Marcellus Wallace is having lunch with a high-profile federal judge known for presiding over major cases involving murders, drug cartels, and high-stake thefts. The judge, John Tess, nicknamed Maximum John for his penchant for handing down severe sentences, harbors a hidden flaw. He's a compulsive gambler. The two men are seated at a private booth positioned slightly away from the main dining area, ensuring their conversation remains discreet. The judge starts, "Looks like the market's taking a hit today." Marcellus hisses and stares at the judge. "You think wearing that robe makes you untouchable? Nah, you're just a man. And men have to pay their debts." Leaning in, he continues, "You had your chance to settle this clean, but you decided to play games. Now I don't care if you're a judge, a senator, or the goddamn pope. I'm getting my money." His voice grows colder. "You messed up. You thought the law could protect you from someone like me. But the law doesn't mean shit in my world. You owe me over $1 million, and I'm done waiting. It all started with $50,000, and you asked for an open credit line, which I gave you." His tone is unforgiving. "You kept doubling down when you lost, kept asking for more credit, and I asked, 'Are you sure?' You said yes, and I gave it to you. Now you've got two choices. You pay what you owe, or my boys here. They'll make sure you pay in another way." The judge swallows hard. "Just hear me out." Cutting him off, Marcellus says, "You're not talking your ass out of this one." The judge nervously continues, "Wait a minute, just wait. You'll get your money, but it'll take some time." "How much time?" Avoiding the man's gaze, the judge replies, 2 months. "I have a life insurance policy on someone, but it'll take time." A slow, cold smile spreads across the Marcellus face. "You're gonna whack your wife?" The judge is silent, his eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. Leaning in, Marcellus's voice drips with contempt. "I thought I'd seen it all, but you take the prize. All right, you got 2 months, but your credit line and privileges are revoked. It's gone, canceled. And if I even catch a whisper of you placing bets again, I'm coming for you. No more extensions, no more favors. You're done." Both men glance toward Jules and Vincent, who are watching, stone-faced from a table by the window. "Remember what happens if you don't pay. Now, I don't want to hear any excuses, no bullshit. You made a bet, and you lost. Time to pay up. And if you even think about running or calling your little friends, know this: there ain't nowhere you can hide that I won't find you." Located in a sleek high-rise in downtown Los Angeles, Marcellus Wallace's office is the epitome of power and luxury. The room features polished dark hardwood floors and rich mahogany paneling. At the center is a grand ebony desk, impeccably organized with a high-end computer and leather planner. A plush leather sofa and armchairs are arranged around a glass coffee table, while a well-stocked bar and tall bookshelves add to the opulent atmosphere. The space is illuminated by a striking chandelier and recessed lights, creating an air of sophistication and authority. Jules and Vincent walk in. Marcellus starts, "That federal judge I was talking to owes me money, over $1 million. Name's John Tess. Thinks he's untouchable because of his title. But I don't care if he's the goddamn president." Vincent lit a cigarette, the smoke curling upwards in lazy spirals. Marcellus leaned back in his chair, eyes steely. "I gave the judge 2 months to settle up, and if he's still playing games after that, get my money first. Then make sure he understands he's not untouchable. I don't care how you handle it, just get it done." Jules nodded slowly. "What if this starts drawing too much attention?" Marcellus's gaze was steely. "Handle it, just make sure he gets the message loud and clear. When I say pay up, it's not a suggestion. No one's too big to be touched. Up, and make sure he never forgets it." He paused, then added, "But handle that in the next 2 months. Got a couple small jobs for you first." Some punk's ass kid been running his mouth, calling me Marcellus Walrus. Got people laughing. I can't have that. Give him a tune-up. Block party beatdown. Jules and Vincent arrive at the block party to confront the punk. The block party is in full swing, with music playing, people dancing, and the air filled with laughter and chatter. The punk, a brash kid with a loud mouth, stands with 3 of his goons near a barbecue pit. They're surrounded by a crowd laughing at the punk's jokes about Marcellus. The punk has the crowd laughing. Marcellus Wallace, what a joke. They call him Marcellus Walrus. I hear he's so fat he needs a forklift just to get out of bed. Crowds laughing and cheering. Ha! Vincent, approaching with Jules, eyes narrowing. Well, look at this shit. This punk's got everyone laughing about Marcellus. Jules, stepping forward, voice low but filled with menace. You are about the dumbest piece of shit I ever seen. Punk, trying to act tough but clearly uneasy. Oh, look who's here. Marcellus's bitches. Vincent lighting a cigarette, voice icy. Fun, huh? You think making jokes about Marcellus is fun? You're out here disrespecting him. Jules, eyes cold, voice firm. You've got no idea who you're messing with, you dumbass punk. Trying to laugh it off. Relax. These bitches won't do anything. All talk. Vincent squaring up, voice steely. You think this is just talk? Jules and Vincent put gloves on for the beatdown. Jules and Vincent begin the beatdown. The crowd disperses as Jules lands a solid punch to one of the goons, sending him sprawling. Vincent grabs the punk, pulling him away from his crew and delivering a series of controlled but punishing blows. The other two goons try to intervene but are quickly subdued by Jules and Vincent's ruthless efficiency. Punk crying out in pain, trying to shield himself. All right, I get it. Vincent removes his gloves. Who's the bitch now? Jules and Vincent leave the scene, the punk and his goons lying beaten on the ground. The partygoers are left in stunned silence as Jules and Vincent walk away, leaving a clear message behind. Jules and Vincent return to the office. All done. Punk has found God. No more problem. All right, tomorrow pay a visit to Ricky Blades. The counterfeit Marcellus holding up the counterfeit bills. Jules, Vincent, take a look at this shit. Ricky thought he could play me with this paper. Jules examining the bills. Damn, this ain't even close. Ricky's got some balls on him. Vincent shaking his head. They just don't learn. Marcellus leaning back, thinking, if word gets out that I'm soft, Marcellus's law don't mean shit. People start walking all over me. Jules looks at Marcellus. You want us to handle it or get Reggie and Luther on it? Reggie's got his hands full with something else, and Luther's tied up with Wolf. You make sure Ricky gets the message, loud and clear. No room for misunderstandings. Vincent and Jules acknowledge good. I want this wrapped up. No loose ends. Ricky made his choice. Now he's going to deal with the consequences. Jules and Vincent arrive at Ricky's house. They enter Ricky's house, finding him sitting nervously. Jules says, "What up, Ricky? You really crossed the line with Marcellus. You thought you could pass off this monopoly money to him? Man, I didn't know it was fake. That's your problem, Ricky. You think Marcellus is a fool? You think he wouldn't notice? I swear it wasn't supposed to go down like this. I just needed to make a move fast. I'll make it right, I swear." Make it right? Ricky, you've crossed a line. Marcellus doesn't like being played, and you played him with this funny money. Jules, it's not what you think, Vincent, leaning in closer. Now the only thing left is how you're gonna fix this. And by fix it, I mean how you're gonna make sure Marcellus never has to think about you again. Ricky panicking, I can get the real money. Just give me some time. Time's not on your side, but maybe, if you bring back what you owe, plus the juice for the trouble, Marcellus might be willing to forget your name. And believe me, Ricky, you want him to forget your name. I know, Vincent, you've got 24 hours. And Ricky, stop being stupid. Oh, and by the way, you've lost your privileges in LA. Don't show your face again. Scene, a fast food joint. The place is busy, the clatter of trays and chatter filling the air. Jules and Vincent sit in a booth munching on burgers and fries. The conversation drifts as Jules stares thoughtfully at his food. Jules, wiping his hands with a napkin. You ever think about what we're really doing? I mean, killing people for a living? Vincent, taking a bite of his burger. All the time. It's our job, right? We're just doing what Marcellus tells us. Yeah, but sometimes I wonder if we're just fooling ourselves. We say we're cleaning up the bad guys, but who decides who's bad? It's not like we're running a charity. We're taking out people who cross Marcellus. He says they're bad, so we deal with them. Sure, but what if we're just part of the problem? We're not exactly judges or saints. We're just hitting targets based on someone else's call. Vincent, leaning back. So you're saying we're just cogs in the machine? Exactly. We're not so different from the people we're taking out. It's a messed up world, Jules. We're not saints, but we're doing our jobs. Maybe we just need to keep our heads down and keep moving. Yeah, you're right. It's not like we're gonna fix the world over lunch. Just seems worth thinking about, you know? They continue eating, their conversation winding down as they return to the practicalities of their work. Ending of Pulp Fiction Chronicles, The Punk and Ricky. The courtroom. Jules and Vincent cruised over to the courthouse, the hum of the engine matching the tension that hung between them. Today they weren't just spectators, they were hunting. They took their seats in the back row of the federal courtroom, eyes scanning every inch of the room. Judge John Tess was presiding over a high-profile racketeering case. His voice cut through the silence, commanding attention with its cold, cocky tone. He was mid-50s, tall and imposing, with slicked-back gray hair and eyes that screamed superiority. This was a man who had spent years behind the bench, ruling with an iron fist and a sharp tongue. The kind of guy who liked to watch people squirm. But today he was the one being watched. "Mr. Douglas, are you ready to present the prosecution's opening statement?" Tess boomed, his gavel striking once for emphasis. "Yes, Your Honor. The evidence will reveal how the defendant's greed led him to extort businesses and launder stolen money. His addiction to gambling blinded him, pushing him to orchestrate violent acts to protect his empire and cover up his debts." Tess raised an eyebrow, his gaze briefly flickering to the defense table. "And the defense, Mr. Harlow? What is your client's plea?" "Not guilty, Your Honor. We will demonstrate that the prosecution's case relies on unreliable testimony from witnesses who were coerced, and that the evidence is largely circumstantial." "Understood. We will proceed with the opening statements. Let me remind both sides. This court demands a focus on the facts, and will not tolerate any delays or theatrics. We seek the truth, and we seek it promptly." Vincent exchanged a look with Jules. "Ain't that a bitch?" Vincent muttered under his breath. "The case is about gambling. Maybe we should have brought our poker chips." Jules just shook his head, scanning the room with a sharp, calculating gaze. "Exits, guards, cameras." Tess was all about control, but there was something about his posture that felt off. Too much pride, too much arrogance. As the trial continued, Jules found himself paying more attention to the judge than the case. Tess was a man who liked to think of himself as untouchable, above the fray, immune to the chaos that surrounded him. But every flick of his eyes, every movement of his gavel told a different story. Underneath the bravado, there was something darker, something that wasn't quite as confident as it seemed. "Another degenerate gambler," Vincent muttered. "Doesn't make a lick of sense." When the court recessed for lunch, Jules and Vincent slipped out, moving through the marble halls with quiet precision. They knew where Tess's chambers were, knew he'd be alone for at least 30 minutes, time enough to make their presence felt. The confrontation Judge Tess was hunched over his desk, reading through documents when the door to his office creaked open. He didn't look up at first, assuming it was just his clerk. But when he finally glanced up, his expression froze. Jules and Vincent stood before him, the weight of their presence filling the room like a suffocating cloud. "Judge Tess," Vincent said, voice smooth as silk. "Let's talk. Oh, did we catch you at a bad time?" Tess's eyes flicked to the door, then back to them, sizing up the situation. The air was thick with tension. "Who the hell are you?" Jules stepped forward, his voice low and calm. "We're here on behalf of Marcellus Wallace. He's done waiting." Tess leaned back in his chair, trying to regain control. "You can't threaten a federal judge. I'll have you both locked up before you can blink." Vincent let out a cold, dangerous chuckle. "Bitch, please. You really think your title means a damn thing to us?" Tess's hand slid toward the button under his desk, the one that would call for help. But Jules was quicker, slamming his hand down on the judge's, pinning it to the wood with brutal force. "Don't even think about it." The judge's composure began to crack, fear seeping into his expression like cold sweat. "This is insane. You can't just come in here and..." "And what?" Jules interrupted, his eyes narrowing. "You think you're untouchable because you wear that robe and hold that gavel? You think that makes you safe? Marcellus doesn't care about your power or your connections. He wants his money. And if you don't pay up, we're gonna take it out of your hide." Tess swallowed hard, his voice shaking. I can get the money. I just need time." Vincent leaned in, his eyes ice cold. "You've had time. Now you're out of it." The pressure point. The days that followed felt like a slow burn for Judge Tess. He was used to being in control, used to making people squirm, but now, for the first time in his life, the fear was suffocating. Every step he took, every moment he spent in that courtroom, he could feel the eyes of Jules and Vincent on him. They were out there watching, waiting for him to slip up. And he did, every damn day. Tess tried everything. He went to banks asking for loans, but they dragged their feet. When he hit up a loan shark, he learned the hard way that no one would deal with him. Marcellus had made sure of that. Word on the street was clear: stay away from Judge Tess. One night, as Tess sat alone in his chambers, the phone rang. He hesitated before picking it up. "Hello? Judge Tess," Vincent's voice came through the line, smooth and unhurried. "We've been polite and patient, but this shit game's come to an end. See you soon." Tess's hand trembled around the receiver. I'll get the money, I swear it." But the line went dead before he could say more. The final judgment. The deadline came and went, and still Tess didn't have the money. He'd tried desperately, but there was nothing left. His accounts were drained. The walls were closing in, and Tess knew what was coming. He felt it in his bones, the dark, oppressive weight of doom. One night, as he sat in his study nursing a drink, the door to his house burst open. Jules and Vincent moved through the hallway with lethal efficiency, their footsteps silent against the plush carpet. Tess heard them approach, his heart pounding in his chest. He tried to run, but it was no use. They found him in his study, cowering behind his desk. "You had your chance," Jules said, his voice cold and final. "Wait, don't. Please, I can get the money. One more month," Tess pleaded, desperation creeping into his tone. Vincent didn't say a word. His eyes spoke volumes, empty, unforgiving. Tess knew there was no escape. He had lived his life believing that his title, his power, could protect him. But now he realized too late, it had all been a fragile illusion. A single gunshot rang out, sharp and final, followed by an eerie silence. Jules picked up the phone. "It's done." Marcellus's voice came through on the other end. "I'm sending the wolf to clean up. Get back to the office." Vincent exhaled a cloud of smoke, a grim smile tugging at his lips. For a guy who's supposed to be so smart, the judge sure was dumb about gambling. Must have been one hell of an addiction. The aftermath. Jules and Vincent walked away from the mansion, their expressions unreadable. They had done what they were paid to do, but there was no satisfaction in it. It was just another job, another day in the life of Marcellus Wallace's enforcers. As they climbed into their car, Vincent flicked his cigarette out the window. "You think he ever thought he could get away with it?" Jules shook his head. "Doesn't matter what he thought. All that matters is he didn't." Vincent nodded, his thoughts already moving to the next job, the next target. "Yeah, you're right." As they drove off into the night, a flicker of doubt crossed Jules's mind. Was there ever a moment when Tess could have turned it around? Maybe he had a family, people who depended on him. But Jules pushed the thought aside. It wasn't their concern. The two hitmen disappeared into the darkness, leaving nothing behind but the echo of a dead judge and the lingering scent of retribution. End of Pulp Fiction Chronicles, The Judge.